Lesson 8 of the TrackerRMS Academy. We'll go over reports and dashboards on the system. First off, we'll take a look at the Reporting tab. If you hover over the Reporting tab, it'll show you your recently run reports that have been opened. And then at the very bottom, you'll also see the ability to build a custom report. So as far as some settings around what is made viewable or not, please check out our admin session around reporting. But one of the common mistakes people will make is they'll say that a report isn't available because they don't see it in the list of reports down below. So this is a list of your recently run reports, but in order to see the full list of reports, click on the word reporting, and it will take you out to the full reporting session here, where you'll be able to see all the different folders and then all of the different report types listed out below. So on the right-hand side here, you'll see the owner of the report, the last date that it was updated, and then you can see an icon which will indicate whether it's shared or not, and then a pencil which will be available if you're the owner of that report, where you can click the pencil to make any edits to it. So if you open up one of the reports on here, for instance, candidates created on the system, this is where we can see any candidates that have been created within the different filters or time frames on the upper left-hand side. Here we'll see all the different columns and then a number of different actions that we can do at the very top as far as emailing the report out, printing it, or saving it. So now we'll take a look at how we can build a report from scratch using the Build Custom Report option. You have the button here as well as the button in the drop-down to build a custom report. So here we'll take a look at the different types of reports first off. So you can either build a list report, which will give you a list of any type of data that's on the system that you can group together. Those are good for if you're wanting to build charts or if you're just wanting to build any tables of information. The second type of report is a trend report, which will allow you to build off of a trend over a count or period of time. So two different options. So first you'll want to select the radio button next to the type of report you want to build. And now we'll go up and look at the data type. This is where we can pick the type of data that we want to report off of. So if we look at all the different parts of the system, this is where you're going to be driving data from. So we'll take a look at building a report off of jobs, and we'll build a simple pipeline report. Next, you're going to look at the data view. So here's where you have lots of different views available, which will determine what tags and what pieces of info you can pull into the column, as well as where the data is coming from. So if we wanted to build a report off of just the high level or jobs, we can select jobs here. If you wanted to report off of job candidates, that would be your short list or candidates inside of the job. Job notes would allow you to report off of notes, so on and so forth. So here, if we wanted to pull a report off of jobs, I can hit that and say next step. This will now take me out to my columns where I can select which columns we want visible in the report. So here we can select anything. So the contact is going to be the hiring manager or the contact of that job. Job dates. General tab will have anything that's generic about that job. Going down to where we have values and then custom fields as well. One important thing with the custom field is they do have to be tied to the same view. So if you're trying to build a report off of jobs and use custom fields from a candidate record, they would need to be in the same place. So here, we'll take in our creation date of the job, of when it was put on the system. We'll grab our ID of the job. We'll also grab the job status, the owner of it, the company name, and then we'll take a look at the value of this job as well. So I can grab any additional details I want for this particular job. Let's say we also want to bring in the full hiring manager's information. Now I can hit next step. If I wanted to add any additional columns, I could always go back to this screen and tick any more boxes that I want to bring in. One of the things with the report, depending on the amount of data you're pulling through, sometimes it can take a little bit longer to move from page to page. If you look in the very top corner of your browser, if you see it still spinning, you know it's still working. So here we have a value field because we picked a value, so I can choose different operators and either have it sum total, average, grab a count, whatever action I want here. I can also choose to ignore zero value rows if I don't want something that has zero or no value to show. Be careful with this because if you tick the box, if you have a job that doesn't have a value entered into it, it wouldn't show up on this list. Next, I can also add a counter in if I'm trying to group or report off of any individual levels. So we'll add a counter to this one. I can also choose to populate all table fields, which what this will do is it will blank out duplicate rows. So if I have one client that has 5 different jobs, instead of listing that client's name 5 times, I could have it list it once and then basically gray out the fields beneath it. And then the last option will allow you to limit the amount of rows. So 0 will return all rows, but if you wanted to put a threshold or ceiling on the report, this is where you could do so. Now if I hit next step, it will take me out to the filters, which are going to be one of the most important parts of the report. So this is where you can go from bringing in all the data on the system to filtering or picking a view of what that is. So here we can filter by any field that's on the system down to contact fields, dates, general fields, any qualification, value, and custom fields. So you always want to think of what type of data are you trying to bring in. So if it's a job report, oftentimes you're going to want to report off of the state, which is whether it's open, closed, or won. So it's going to grab multiple options. Here I'm going to pick my filter, and now I can grab my operator. So I can do anything from a simple equal to, not equal to, a contain or does not contain search. I can say it needs to start with or end with a phrase, is blank, is not blank, or I can do multiple selection or not multiple selection. So the operators are where you can pick lots of different types here. I'm going to say equal to, and I have a choice of open or won here. So I'm going to pick open to grab any jobs that are in an open status. If I wanted to filter by a single recruiter on my team or by a date range or any additional information, I could. But now all I have to do is hit next step, and it takes me out to my screen where I can organize the columns. So if I wanted it to show first the company name, and then I wanted it to show, or actually the owner first, then company name, then the job status, I could bring that over. The creation date, anything that I wanted to organize this, I could. Now I can also choose how it's sorted. So I could say first I want it sorted by the owner in ascending order. Next I want it sorted by the company name. And then I want it sorted by the creation date. So I can sort just like I would in Excel or any additional program like that. I can also group them together if I want them grouped and totaled. So I could say I want them grouped by owner, so I can look at jobs grouped by each owner on the team. So now if I hit next step, it will take me out to my preview here, where I can look at the report on screen, or I can export it out to Excel. Excel is going to be more if you're doing it one time. View report is going to open that up to where I can look at the information, and then I can also go in and save that if I want, so I can view it later. So here you'll see we have a report that's built out. We have Andy has all of his jobs listed out. We have the value of his overall roles, and I can see that he has 11 total jobs on the system. Now this is where I can take this report if I wanted to change the format of it here in the upper right hand side. As long as you have a count in there, I could change it and look at a bar chart if I wanted to see a bar chart of how Andy stacks up versus Roger. Or I could go and change it to just a count of jobs. So you have a lot that you can play around with here to make it either a table or more data-driven. Now, if it's a one-time report, I can email it out. But here, I'm going to hit the blue Save button, and I'm going to save this report so I can view it later. So one, I can pick the group of where I want it stored. So I'm going to put this here into our Jobs folder. I'm going to call it Open Pipeline Academy. I'm going to make Andy the owner, and then you can add it to your favorite report, which will open up a column right next to your recently viewed records that you can see. And you can also choose to share it with departments in the team. So if I hit Save Report, that's going to take this report and save it into the system. I can now close it out and close this out as well. So one thing to note is if you wanted to go back and make any changes, if you viewed it on screen and you weren't happy with it, I can go here, hit back, and go in and edit that report. Now if we refresh our page and go to our Jobs tab, we'll see that we have our Open Pipeline Academy report right here. Now this is where if I wanted to edit this report, I can always go in and open it. This is where we can see all of our information. But on the right-hand side, if I hit my pencil, it will open up the report. I can make any changes. Let's say I forgot and I actually wanted to have the job name as well. I could add job name in, hit next step, step back through the report. If there's any changes I need to make, I could. But here I could say, all right, I want to reorder these. And I'm going to bring in the company name and then the job name. I want the date over here, and I'm happy with everything else. So now I hit next step. I can view this report on screen, and I've edited that report and also brought in the company name and the job name here. So the one thing, I can save this report. Now I notice here that we've lost our grouping. So if I close this out, this is an example of where I can go back and I can take this and I could say, I actually want it grouped by owner. I can hit next step, view report again, and now my grouping is back in place. So if I hit save, I can change the name if I want, but I can hit save report, and that's how we can go in and edit an existing report as well as resave it onto the system. So that's building one example of a simple report. Obviously, there's lots of different views and lots of reports you can build, such as around activities on the system. You could do it around candidates being created, jobs being created, really any type of data that you have. Next, we'll look at some advanced functionality, and we'll take that same report and we'll show you how you can open a report and export it to Excel. So here, I can take this report, and at the very top, you'll see a Report to Excel button. So we'll want to open up Excel, and you can hit your Report to Excel button here, and it will pop up a link on screen. This is where you'll want to copy that link. We want to take a blank workbook, and at the very top, you'll see we want to insert. And all the way to the right, we have data. And I can say we want to import data from web. Here, I want to clear out any link that's in there. Copy the link in that we've got from Tracker and hit the Go button. What that will do is it will make a call out to Tracker, and it will bring in the data that you've exported. I can hit import, and it will take that report and drop it directly into Excel. So it usually takes a couple seconds for this report to be imported, and then you'll get a pop-up on screen that will ask you where you want to place it. So if you have multiple pages, or if you have multiple tabs in your Excel, you can choose to put it in an existing worksheet or a new worksheet. A button. It will take this data, take a few seconds to render, and now I have my data placed inside a Tracker, I can go in and now work with this data in Excel. So the difference with this is going to be a live report that will update in real time. So by changing any of this information, it will update just by refreshing this report. So you can take multiple different reports and bring them into the system, and you can refresh this just by going out and hitting refresh all. So do a good example of this, and we will take our TrackerRMS Academy job that we put on. It's a test job here. So job 1564 is at an open stage. So we'll see that Andy has 11 jobs here. We'll go back into Tracker, and we'll look at that job 1564. And this job we'll go into, and we will take it and delete this job off the system. So we'll go in and take it from open and say that this job was dropped by the client. So I'm going to save this, so it's going to move that job from an open into a dropped status. We'll go right back into our Excel, and all we have to do to have this Excel update in real time is go up to the top where it says refresh all, hit refresh, and Excel will reach out to Tracker, grab the updated information for this report. It'll take just a few seconds, and we'll see that that report will drop off. And now Andy is only going to show 10 jobs. All the figures will recalculate as well. So on top of it, you can go in and change or style anything up. So if you wanted to put, any type of formatting in here, if you wanted to, put any type of tables, charts, any information, you can work with Excel just as you would. So that's one example of how you can take any simple or multiple reports and take them out into Excel to do anything additional that you want. Now we'll take a look at building out a dashboard, which is where you can take multiple reports and bring them into a dashboard view. So if I hit My Dashboard Reports, there's no dashboards applied. So this is where if you have one, you can hit the dashboard filters, and we can take a look at any of the dashboards that are on the system. So we'll build one from scratch. We'll hit Add New Dashboard, and this is where I can name it. So we'll say we want our TrackerRMS Academy dashboard, and you can choose to share it. You can share with specific users by ticking the box next to their name, or we could leave it unshared. Default dashboard would make it your default. So here, if I wanted to say no, but I want to add it in, I can hit OK. Now, one common mistake here is people won't see it, and they'll keep hitting Add New Dashboards. So once you've built it, we need to go in and pick up that dashboard and apply it. So if I hit TrackerRMS Academy and Show, we've now applied that dashboard. We just haven't built any parts yet. So now I can hit Add Dashboard Part, and I can pick up the type of part I want. So I can put in a text. I can try to put a link out to a web page. I could bring in a dashboard part or any type of reports. So here, if we wanted to put a text in, we could say, I want to put a simple text in that's called TrackerRMS Academy. I can use the editor here to take this and style it up to give it a certain look and feel. I could also give it another color if I wanted. I could put a background color in, and then I can have it be a height or width. So if I hit OK, that will drop in your text, and now I can build out each one of my parts. So you could label the dashboard. I can now go in and say Custom Report. Let's pick up any of our reports that are on the system. So we'll find our Open Pipeline Academy report, and we want it to be a full width. You can also pick the height if you want it to be bigger or smaller. And we can choose to put it in spot number 1 or at the end, which would go underneath our text. So if I hit OK, this is going to drop in this report down beneath it, and I can continue to add any additional reports in here that I want. So here, if I wanted to change this part, I can hit the edit next to it, and I could say, you know what, this is way too big. Let's change it and make it a lot smaller. I could hit save and close, and it's going to take that and edit these existing ones. So that's how we can change or play around with the different parts of the dashboard. So if we decided we didn't like this top heading here and I wanted to remove it entirely, I could go in and say delete record. Okay, and that's going to reorganize each one of these. Now we could also add additional parts. If I wanted to bring in another report that was candidates created on the system, I could drop that in. I could put it at spot number 1 or number 2. I could also pick whether it's half width, full width, and when I hit OK, that's going to drop in my second report that will start to stagger here. So now I can start building out as many reports as we want. So if I flip over into a different dashboard here and take a look at our job dashboard and hit show, this is a separate dashboard that's going to be built out a little bit more, that has some more visuals in here around jobs of what source they're coming from, open jobs in the pipeline, and then also by each consultant. So this is one example of how a dashboard can be built out. So instead of having to hover over and open multiple different reports, I can click on dashboards and open them all up with the click of a button right here. So these reports can all be opened. If you wanted to change the format of them, you could. You can also change the filter here by hitting Edit Filters and then hit the Save button to refresh them. So that covers off the basics around reports in TrackerRMS.